for this episode of Living Well with Adena. Adena continues its vaccine clinic here at the Packard Medical Education Center. And here to fill us in on the current developments is Fred Yingling, the Director of Pharmacy Services at Adena Health System. Fred, how are you doing today?
Hey, as Dr. Gabus said, we are still running our vaccine clinic here at Packard, but it is winding down. Just want to update everyone. This Friday and next Wednesday will be our last 2 days to do second shot Moderna vaccines. And then next Tuesday, the 18th, from 8 a.m. to noon, will be our last clinic of doing Johnson & Johnson. So just 3 clinics left. We want to thank the National Guard and ODH for helping us provide this service at the Packard Center. We've been able to fully vaccinate almost 9,000 patients since we started it in January. So really happy about that. After we shut down next week with the Packard Center, Adena Health System, we are working on transitioning the provision of vaccines in our primary care clinics in the different counties. So our initial rollout is to have at least 1 clinic in each of our service counties to be able to provide the vaccine. But stay tuned on that. Go to adena.org. We will list all of our clinics where there's vaccine available there for you to get. So that's going to be great. We're really trying to get ahead of this and incorporate it into the regular way that we take care of patients and vaccines and that type, incorporate into the daily care that our primary care and family physicians give with vaccinations, knowing that we'll probably at least be having the need to give boosters, or if we don't do another round of vaccines in the fall or again next year. We'll see how the COVID thing shakes out with that. So more to come on that. Week of the 24th, we'll be having vaccines in clinics. National update I wanted to give. The Pfizer vaccine was approved for kids 12 years and up. So that's a great development. It is the 2-shot series. Here in Ross County, I know the Ross County Health Department has the Pfizer vaccine. They have plenty of, vacancies or opportunity for people to come in and get scheduled and receive that. So that's a great development. We expect other vaccine makers, probably Moderna later in the fall, to get approval for the younger kids. So that's a great happening that we've had. And then the last thing I want to say is that yesterday, Governor DeWine had a big announcement where he is rolling back mostly all the health orders that we've been under here in the last year, starting June 2nd. And with that, he really wants to make, give some incentive and push people that may be on the fence to get vaccinated over, these next 3 weeks prior to June 2nd, and all of those health orders being relaxed with the social distancing and masking and that kind of thing. So to kind of help incentivize people, he announced that there's going to be 5 drawings where someone, an Ohioan who's been vaccinated, will be chosen 5 different weeks, and the prize is $1 million. So it's really better odds than a Powerball if you think there's, probably only 6 million Ohioans who've been vaccinated. So if you need some incentive, there's one coming. So you have to be vaccinated to be eligible. I don't think there's really much to do, but, this just came out yesterday afternoon. I'm sure there are more details, on TV and all over. The other great thing is, for the kids that get vaccinated, there is also going to be selections for 4 years of paid tuition and college room and board to an Ohio school for kids that get vaccinated. So it's really, doing this last push before June 2nd and things really open up to get as many people as protected as possible. So I would urge you, the time is now to go and get one. So and maybe you'll get lucky and hit the lottery at the same time. So that's all I had to share for today. Thanks for letting me provide these updates, and I'll give it back to Dr. Gabus.
All right, thanks, Fred. And remember, you can register at gettheshot.coronavirus.ohio.gov to register. And thanks again to Fred and the National Guard for coordinating that here at the Packard Medical Education Center. And now on to our subject, which is a crucial subject, and that is self-care, especially self-care for women. If you're not taking care of yourself, you're more at risk for health issues, and being the best physical, emotional, spiritual person will continue to help protect you against adverse effects of stress in your life. Joining us today are Dr. Catherine Neal, an OBGYN physician, and Natasha McCoy, a certified nurse midwife with Adena Women's Health. So thank you for being here. If you're tuning in live with us today, you can submit questions online in the comment section, and we'll be able to answer those during our program. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm anxious to hear about your travels and how in your training you came to arrive at Adena. So Dr. Neal, how about you first?
All right. So I grew up in Texas, and I met my husband there. We moved to Michigan for residency because I completed college and med school in Texas. And then after residency, we came to Chillicothe in 2018. By that time, we had 2 little boys. I've got a 5-year-old and an almost 3-year-old.
Wow. So you know what balancing work in children and families is all about.
It's tricky.
Mm-hmm, it sure is. And Natasha, how about you?
I grew up here in Chillicothe. I attended Ohio University for my undergraduate nursing and then worked for 8 years at Burger and Labor and Delivery before returning to school for my master's from University of Cincinnati, my master's in midwifery. Following graduation in 2012, I worked at Ohio State for about 3 years. Got lots of great experience there before coming to Adena. I started here in 2016. I have 3 daughters. My oldest is 20. So
wow. And you also, with Dr. Neal, you have to balance that life with babies, kids, career. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into it then. I know the women in my life put themselves way before anybody else. And that's just who they are. But sometimes that can cause problems down the road if they're not taking care of themselves. Mm-hmm. So with your experience, how would you help people who are in your same situation? How would you help them be more balanced or be more centered and healthier?
I would definitely encourage them to remember that it's very important. As time passes, we continually get pulled in an ever-increasing number of directions, both personally and professionally. And if you don't have something in place to maintain your center and remember what makes you, you're going to get burned out.
Okay, Natasha, what would you offer as advice?
it's just so vitally important, and especially when your children are small. I remember having a hard time. My kids were close together, so I didn't have much time to even, load the dishwasher, much less make time for myself. But right. I learned very quickly that takes a real toll on you physically and mentally.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of physically, what type of impact would it have on physical health?
Physically, if you're not taking care of yourself, and part of taking care of yourself means trying to make good choices when it comes to your foods, eating those fruits and vegetables, and trying to avoid too much of the processed things that sometimes are easier and faster to cook. But and exercising and taking time for yourself mentally. Without that, you're having a higher risk of being obese, which can lead to heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, and ultimately make your life shorter.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's very sobering advice about the impact on your physical health. What are some ways that women can practice self-care in taking care of themselves?
I would pose that just varies based on interest and individual abilities. It could be anything from stretching techniques, exercises, relaxation, or massage, to walking around the block with family and friends, to higher intensity type exercises like Zumba, CrossFit, or boxing.
Well, so that you can vary it and make it different so that it doesn't get too
Absolutely,
boring.
mix it up. Yeah.
Sure. Natasha, I know that you have a passion for physical exercise and helping others to be physically fit. Tell us how you've worked that into your routine. What might be a first step for a woman to take to help them on this journey?
So for many years, I would exercise for a couple weeks, try to get it in regularly, not really see a lot of results, especially in my weight, and give up and just stop. But one day I made the decision to try a Zumba class at the YMCA, and I found something finally that was exercise that I enjoy. So I think that's number one. You got to find something that you actually enjoy doing, because it makes it a lot easier to stick with it if you make it something that you enjoy. And then you have to make it a priority. You have to schedule it, put it on your calendar, just like you do your kids' activities.
Mm-hmm. It's that important, huh?
It is. Mm-hmm.
Right. Everybody deserves to make themselves a priority. It's not selfishness. It's a good, healthy approach. It's a good, healthy approach. So would a wellness exam with a women's health professional or a primary care physician, is that a good place to start to begin the journey to wellness?
Absolutely. We offer multiple different types of screening. You have your general health screenings, and obviously dependent upon age, osteoporosis, diabetes, depression. I chat about that with patients often. Infection screenings like STIs or sexually transmitted infections. And then cancer screenings, typically breast cancer, cervical cancer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you assess where a woman is in their health, physically, mentally, and spiritually during a wellness visit?
Typically, yes, we would talk about all of those components, general, overall, how do you feel your health is? And then all the screenings to make sure that we're trying to get ahead of any potential problems in your well-being.
Yeah, sure. With mental health, that is a key component in overall health. If you look back over the past year, has the pandemic increased the number of patients that you see who have concerns about their mental health?
I would say yes. People are having, the pandemic has caused a great deal of stress. Some people who were unable to work for long periods of time maybe still aren't working. Children being at home rather than at school for an extended period of time. And a lot of what I'm seeing now also, now that we're getting back to some more normalcy, I'm seeing people who skipped their routine well visits and their screenings in the last year or so. And I'm actually seeing some of the sequelae of that. I've seen, some more abnormal mammograms, for example, now because they didn't have their mammogram last year. So it's really, important for people to start getting caught up on all of that too.
That's very good advice.
Absolutely.
That's very good advice. In a well-balanced and healthy life, Dr. Neal, and Natasha touched on it, how do you really make time? Do you have any suggestions or techniques that you use, or Natasha, that you use for carving out that time on your schedule? How do you do the logistics of finding an hour for yourself?
I live by my calendar, and I
Me too.
am sure to schedule everything in that. I enjoy boxing conditioning at 4:50 every Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Wait, did you say 4:50?
Yeah, it starts at 4:50.
Is that in the morning or the afternoon?
It is in the morning time.
Wow.
Because by that time I can get my exercise in, and then be home and get ready for the day and then still get to the office early enough to start seeing patients and taking care of them. But it's got to be scheduled. Thankfully, my husband is available and he helps me. I would not be able to do what I do without that support from him. But it's all scheduled, all the things.
And prioritized.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's important.
Mm-hmm.
Natasha, what logistical things do you do to protect that time?
I'm very much the same with having my calendar. Some other things I like to work into just my regular everyday while I'm at work. If you have a break in your schedule, take a minute, have a sip of coffee, take some deep breaths. If you need to go up a floor or two, it's always better to take the stairs than the elevator when you can. Park farther away from the store to get that few extra steps in. So sometimes it's just the little things that you work into your day too.
Good. Have you, and it may take you a second or two to think about this, but do you have a patient that you can think of who, after talking with them, they did implement healthy behaviors or healthy routines, and what impact did it have on them? If you recall any patients that you said, you're overweight, that puts you at risk for endometrial cancer, it puts you at risk for diabetes and heart disease, and then what happened and what was the outcome of that for your patient?
I've actually had several patients, particularly I find that women who are desiring a pregnancy often are willing to take the steps to make their health better so that they can have a successful, healthy pregnancy. So I've had several women who came in for, I would like to be pregnant. And we talked about how your weight can very, very much affect your ability to get pregnant to start with and the well-being of you and your baby during your pregnancy. And I have had several of those moms that have lost several pounds, have really gotten into a good diet and exercise program. And they come back saying they're feeling so much better. And oftentimes they come back pregnant. So
that's their goal, huh?
Yeah.
Right. Dr. Neal, do you have?
I would essentially echo what Natasha has said. That's a very similar patient situation that I had as well. She was able to start, I believe she chose to do keto. And then she was able to lose 45 pounds. Her cycles became regular and she was able to conceive. So yes, whatever it is for these specific examples, conception is their motivator. But to find whatever motivates you as an individual is important. And then just to keep your eyes on the prize and remember that every day is a new day. We're not going to be perfect. We weren't built that way. But just to continue to intentionally pursue that in whatever way that is.
Okay. I heard you use the word keto, and a keto diet is one that is low in carbohydrates. Can you speak a little bit more about that?
Only a very little bit. So yes, it is low in carbs, which that essentially the body converts to sugars and such. It's higher in protein and healthy fats like avocados and things of that nature as opposed to processed fats. And it gets the body into what's called ketosis, or essentially a fat burning state. And you lose weight that way. But obviously there are some folks that would be okay for, and others that it's not necessarily helpful for. So it's important to chat with someone if you're thinking about doing that or you'd like to do that, to chat with your healthcare person before.
So that would be something that you would encourage a discussion about before somebody embarked on that.
Absolutely, that would be wise.
Yes.
We also talked briefly about how busy things were in food preparation. And it's really, really easy to go through a drive-through. And a lot of my patients, that's a big challenge. Do you have any practical advice on if you do need to use fast food, what are things that you might suggest to your patients to choose differently?
If I have to have fast food myself, I try very hard to choose a salad option. Because, even if the the burger might be an okay choice, but then you're going to get fries with that, and that's just fried and lots of carbs in that. So oftentimes a salad is about the best option if you're eating at a fast food restaurant.
That's good. That's good advice.
And if a salad's not available, then I would recommend like doing it bunless, like having that hamburger, but bunless, and whatever the small things are that you can do to kind of attempt to cut the carbs out in the excess.
Sure. One of the things that I know that I've recommended to my patients, women and men and young adults, is get a kids meal, because there's plenty of
portion control.
Portions,
there's plenty of calories there to sustain you, but it's not the over the top number of calories it's in a usually a typical fast food meal.
Sure.
And
Also,
you get the toy.
Yeah.
And you get a toy. That's right. Are there other resources that are available at Adena or through Adena Women's Health that you would want our listeners and our viewers to know about?
We have our colleagues in the Adena Counseling Center that are available and wonderful. We have several highly, I love our nutritionists on staff. They're great and super helpful for patients. And then chatting with any of us in the office or your primary care, whether it's physician, nurse practitioner, midwife, physician assistant, like any of us are more than happy and would love to chat with you during your wellness exam or annual exam.
Okay, great. And it sounds like the important thing is for patients to be open to those discussions and actually to start those discussions with you, even though you'll bring it up. It's good to have them be the initiators of that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any parting words of encouragement for those who start out, like Natasha, you said you'd go for 2 weeks and wouldn't see anything, and it's hard to keep going. What words of encouragement would you like to leave with our audience?
Just be persistent, keep scheduling it, try to stick with it, and know that it's a decision that you're making for the long term, really not for the short term.
Okay, that's good advice.
Yeah.
Dr. Neal?
I would just echo that every day is a new day. Scheduling it is important because you want to recharge and be there for yourself in future as well as others.
That's very good. And that's a good way to frame that. Women tend to be very strong caregivers, and helping them take better care of themselves is something that will be important not only to them, especially to them, but to their families and to those who depend on them.
Absolutely.
All right. I'd like to thank you both for your time today. It's been very enlightening, and the women in my life thank you for providing the care to the women in our counties that we take care of. So it's very important that folks get back to their routine wellness visits.
Absolutely. Yep. You're welcome.
All right. And thank you for joining us today for this episode of Living Well with Adena with Dr. Catherine Neal and Natasha McCoy from Adena Women's Health. We'll be providing more up-to-date information about COVID-19 on our website at adena.org. You can register for the vaccines at gettheshot.coronavirus.ohio.gov. And be sure to join us in a few weeks, on May the 27th. And we hope that you have a wonderful day. It's a beautiful day out today. Get outside and enjoy it a little bit and get some physical activity. So thank you very much, and we'll see you very soon.